move on to the don't do list. And remember, this isn't a formula. Like if you follow these 3 things, then you're going to have this great relationship. But it's just more cautions from the things I've walked through with my girls, and I hope they are important to you as well. The first one I see, it will immediately break connection with my daughters for a season or for a moment, busyness. And I have seen the connection break when I am too distracted. Let me tell you a story. So last year, about this time, Larson had COVID, and it was her 13th birthday week. And I was so bummed for her. You don't want to be at home by yourself with mom for like 4 or 5 days when she really wanted to be at school. And so I thought, I'm not going to get this time back with her. And so we tried to make it fun. I tried to do some things, just her and I. We got into a hot tub and we were chatting. And I had just an epiphany that maybe I should ask her, like, what could I do better as a mom? And she just looked at me. I said, really, tell me. Like, I want to love you the best way I know how. For you, Larson, not for Ella, for my 13-year-old. And she said, well, there's 4 things. And I was like, what? Little stinker, but she didn't have 4. She just was joking with me. But she did have 1. And it took her a minute to tell me. She like went around, got in my ear, and she would barely look me in the eyes. And she said, I hate the phone. And I was like, I hate the phone. And what she was trying to tell me was, put down the phone. Like, I am on my phone too much, which we all do, and I'm so guilty. But what I pulled the thread, and made the connections, that it's not the phone, it's the distraction. It's my lack of eyes when she's talking to me. It's my lack of interest. They can feel it. I remember as a little girl, if I was trying to tell a story to someone, and I could tell whether my parent was engaged or not engaged, and they feel that. Now, before you like discredit me, I know you have a job. I know you have to cook dinner. I know you have other kids, but there are moments, if I'm honest with myself, that I could put something down, do it later, and really engage with them and give them my eye contact. Or just say, hey, can I circle back in about 10 minutes? I'm almost finished with this thing. Or look for more opportunities to be fully engaged with them. I will tell you to watch the videos if they're not funny. Get with them on their phone and look at their friends and just be engaged in what they're interested in. And seize the moments, because they don't always want us around. And when they do, I would say jump in and give them your focus. So busyness will break connection. A friend of mine, I'll give you one more story. A friend of mine, Ashley. So she's one of those people, we all kind of walk with the Lord, but I feel like she hears directly from him in really specific ways. So when she calls and tells me something, I often react, because over time it's been proven that like that's what I was supposed to do. So she said, hey, I'm having this sense that you need to spend more time at night, specifically with them one-on-one. And I was like, really? And I'm honest, when they were little, I loved tucking them in. It was cute. We snuggled, read them a story, whatever. But now they're teenagers. They go to their room, they shut the door, they talk to their friends. And so I've kind of pulled back, and I thought, okay, I'll try it. I don't know if they want me up there. So I've been going back up to their rooms again. And it's not every night, but I've been scratching their back if they want me to, listening to a song, listening to them, just laying with them, snuggling, whatever. And I've found that they like it. Not all the times. There will be times I go to my 16-year-olds and she's like, no, I'm doing my homework, I'm talking to Emma, I don't want you in there. But I'm noticing that they invite me more in. And what I wrote here is, a shut door doesn't always mean go away. It may mean come near. And sometimes they are shutting the door, but like that pendulum, they're actually saying, can you come in? But they don't know how to have the humility or the maturity to say, like, Mom, I really need you right now. And so this is why this is like a whole mystery. It's like we're watching, we're trying to figure out, and it may work in one day and it may not work. But I will tell you, a break in connection can happen when we're too busy to engage with them. All right, the second one, and these are all like so embarrassing, I feel a little sweaty about it. Pickiness. I'm a nitpicker. Like, I literally pick them to death. So remember we talked about, in that parenting book by Andy and Sandra Stanley, they talked about phases of parenting. So the little years are about teaching. You're like, hey, don't put your hand on the stove. Don't run in the street. And you're teaching them about the good and the bad and the rights and wrongs of life. But as they get into this tween teen phase, we are more coaching them, and we don't always get to have a say. So we have to be careful. So this nitpicking, I'm noticing that I want them to know everything. So I'm like, hey, put your fork that way. Hey, sit up. Hey, tuck your shirt in. And I'm just like nitpicking them all the time, which aren't bad things to teach them, but I've seen mine open up and draw near when my focus hasn't all been nitpicking. We have people like that in our lives, even a boss, a husband, a sister, that all they do is tell you what you need to do right, versus like saying, hey, you're pretty awesome. Like, you're a really good mom. Or saying to my kids, like, instead of going straight for the grades that are bad, which I'm so guilty of, like when they were little, you get the paper and you flip past the 99s, 100s, and you see the 70s, you're like, what is going on in math? Same thing with these kids. Like, don't flip past all the things that they're doing right and just narrow in on the things they're doing wrong. I'm not saying ignore them. I'm not saying you shouldn't parent, but we've got to flip the switch and be more encouraging. One of my favorite verses is in Hebrews 10, it's 24 through 25. Hebrews 10, it says, "And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another all the more as the day is approaching." And what I love is just that word spur. Like, we want to, at the end of the day, be a parent, no matter what's going on in their life, that we are spurring them on, because they are getting nitpicked and destroyed by their own self-talk, the people around them, the culture around them, and they need a cheerleader and someone in their corner that sees the best in them and calls it out. And I think we've got to challenge each other. Especially when you're butting heads with one, you can only see like how irritating they are, or how different they are, or how defiant they are. But search and pray and ask God to show you ways that you can specifically encourage them and speak life into their life. Resist tearing them down. Resist overreacting. I put this because I'm real good at this. But Ella had a thing with her driving the other day, and I freaked out. And what it told her was, if I do anything wrong with the car or driving, you are absolutely going to lose your lid. So I had to go back to her and say, I'm sorry. Like, it is a deal, and we're going to talk about it, but it's not as big as a deal as I reacted. So really resist overreacting so they can come back and realize that the whole job is for them not to be perfect. We don't want to nitpick them. Resist fixing. I asked on Instagram the other day to some of the girls, like, hey, I'm doing this talk about mothers and daughters encouraging and connecting. What would you say to a mom that wanted to do this? And one of the girls said, just listen, don't fix, and don't be awkward. I'm like, we are awkward. We're mothers. So listen, don't fix. One other thing I wanted to put down here and encourage us all is, I feel like it's all up to me. I feel like there's this long list, and it expires at age 18. They need to brush their teeth, they need to sit up straight, they need to do good in school, and it's just this exhaustive list. If I don't do that and manufacture that and teach them that, then they're gonna be losers, which then makes me look like a bad mom, which is just false. Because first of all, there's no way to complete the list. I even got a list from someone that was like, all the adulting skills that your child needs before they leave the home. I could do about 50% of them. I'm like, I'm not even a full adult. I'm 46. So I would just encourage us to take a deep breath. It's not all up to us. And God is capable of bringing other voices in that will say it even better and louder than you ever could. For example, I've been wanting to kind of pour into Ella and her friends and her faith, and it never really fit the timing. And so she came home one day and said, hey, Mom, I got invited to this Bible study with this other mom. And y'all, she is loving it. And she is listening like at the feet of this other lady. And the lady is sharing truth about what I would say to her about life and friends and faith. And God brought that opportunity to her. And I'm like, yes, go, soak it up. And so just remember, it's not all on you. It feels like that. And that can help us nitpick less and encourage more when we don't think we have to control everything. So that big aha, and this is what I learned, is that I am in the coaching phase and I need a transition. I'm treating them like I'm still in the teaching phase, and they are growing and they're old enough to make decisions and have failures and learn themselves. Okay, so the first one, how we break connection, is busyness. The second one that I struggle with is pickiness. And another one I struggle with is predictability. And what do I mean by that? My buddy Sissy Goff says, to the degree that they can predict you, they will dismiss you. So we got to be sneaky. They know what we're doing. They know when we pick them up from school that we're going to say, how was your day? Anything happen? Like, they know what's coming. They know at dinner we're going to say, hey, everybody share a high and low. Like, we've got to break out of the predictable patterns and some level. Sissy calls it the backdoor approach. We need to be creative and unpredictable in how we engage. And I know that when they know it's coming, they can tell on my face. I'm like, I want to hear about your day. And they just roll their eyes and know what to say. But you as a mom can think, my daughter doesn't like me. She never shares with me. And it may not be you. It may be the approach, the timing. So let's get creative with our questions. And I will link to some of these on my website and give you some great questions. But it's all about the way that we ask them. Instead of saying like, hey, I want to talk to you guys about conflict and friendship, they're going to just hate you. But if you're like, hey, tell me about a time, has anyone struggled with a fight with a friend? I even ask Ella, what should Larson do? And hear her say it. And then I can like interact. But me just giving the lecture doesn't work. So let's ask great questions. Let's get creative with our timing, not always right when we pick them up. Maybe let them get a little something in their stomach. Maybe let them unwind in their room. And maybe it's that bedtime. Or maybe it's, hey, want to ride with me to grab a coffee? And then you have that discussion. So just keep trying. Don't give up.